All right, guys, we're going to get started here in the next 1 minute. 1 minute. However, you had to grab a notepad and pen, pencil, chalk, paint, stick, something. Draw in the dirt. Take some notes. All right, all right, all right. What's up? What's up? What's going on? Man, I hope you guys had a great, or having a great week. Obviously, you can see in the background, coming back after 2 weeks, had to take care of something last week. So hopefully, you guys were dug through the library and looked at some of the podcasts pertaining to many different topics in regards to laws and principles of success, long term success, and hopefully you took assessment of where you are right now, and hopefully you took assessment of where you want to be. So this channel is not for me. This is actually for people who desire to know those 5 questions that I repeat over and over and over again. I weave it into the podcast. Who are you? Your identity. Why are you here? Your purpose. Where are you from? Your origin. That's a big one. And where are you going? Your vision. That's another big one. And what can you do? Your skills, talents, and abilities. All 5 of them are big. I would even call them the 5 alive bunch. The 5 alive. You should write that down. You heard it first. It's the 5 alive questions. Okay. The 5 alive bunch. Okay. So if you are new to the podcast, Kingdom Diplomat podcast, obviously I am your host. And I want you to know, and actually in the title, that's actually talking about you. And if you go through the previous library of podcasts, hopefully you will start to see a picture developed. If you are probably say 30 years or less, maybe 35 years or less, there was something called Polaroids. You can look it up online what a Polaroid was. But I remember as a little kid that you can take a snapshot of obviously what you're taking a picture of, and it took a while for it to develop, right? And you had to grab the bottom of it and you had to wave it, right? And let the air get to it, and then it started to develop slowly. So in that Polaroid picture, well, before I get into this, let me go ahead and say this. So if you're new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like. I appreciate it. Please go ahead and forward this Kingdom Diplomat podcast to your friends, family, foes. It doesn't matter. So a lot of the principles and laws I'm going to share here, you will not hear it from your boss. You won't hear it from a government official. You may hear some things here, there, kind of dabbling a little bit, but overall you won't, especially the way I say it and how I say it. And with what power and authority I say it with, because it's working in my life. No, I'm not perfect, but I am ascending, I am evolving, I fail forward. Okay. So, with that being said, I thank you guys who've been following me for quite some time. I'm sure you are seeing a depiction developing in your mind of where you want to be. Okay. So, hopefully, you have a vision book you write down, because of your reticular system, right? With your eyes, is connected to your brain. Everything runs through the brain. Obviously, that's why, the things that are in the food, the toxins, the chemicals and stuff, all that has to do with going into your belly, right? Your digestive system, and it's connected to your brain, right? So if your brain is not operating right because of the foods, the water, the air, all that type of stuff, and you're not detoxing regularly, with especially with intermittent fasting, because that right there will actually help you, what they call as autophagy, help your body or your brain clean out all the trillions of your cells. Okay, so now, as you see these three words right here, law, right? That stands for land, air, water. Go ahead and write that down. Law, land, air, water. What the heck, Tyreek, does that have to do with me? It has to do with everything. Well, let's start from a physical standpoint. So isn't your body that you live in like 70, 80, 90% water? Of course it is. And also it has magnesium. It's a salt battery. So it's anything that takes up space is matter, and obviously it has cells in it, right? And you have protons, neutrons, electrons in your cells. You have electricity, energy, okay? And that's also what part of your makeup of your soul, which is your mind, your will, your emotions, and your intellect. That's the second part. But the core part of you, the core part of you, like a automobile with an engine, right, with your body to your brain, is the spirit. Okay, so we've all learned that in school to some degree, based on principles and laws that you can't see: the law of gravity, the law of lift, the laws of electricity, the laws of physics, the laws of energy. There's all different types of laws, right? And so we can tap in once we find out and get the right kind of knowledge, and we start experimenting, obviously, with those laws. It depends on the motivation that you have. Okay, if you filled your mind, if your spirit is in the negative, right? There's a term in the Bible, a kingdom government book. That's what that is. That's dealing with principles from the King, Lord, and Creator. Gives you laws in there to help you succeed. Now, why in the heck, Mr. Muslim, Mr. Atheist, Mr. and Mrs. Christian, agnostic, Rastafarian, Buddhist, Hindu, please keep listening. Keep on listening. You're my friends. Love you guys. Now, why would the Bible give you, or why would the King, the Creator, give you principles to succeed? It's very simple, okay? It's because a king has a reputation, right? Now, in the Western world, we weren't taught about that, right? We were taught, and we're under a democratic republic. So you can look that up. Democratic, again, public. Okay, you got to break those words down and look at the origin of those words. Okay, I'll let you do that yourself. All right, so those are different. We have presidents, we have prime ministers. They overall don't care about you, okay, and your family and your challenges and your struggles. Okay, personally, they may to some degree, but overall, they don't. Okay, they can't do anything overall. Okay. So with that being said, we are under a democratic republic, are supposed to elect them, right? And elected officials. But that system is upside down, okay? It's based upon commerce, all right? So a lot of people know that it's based upon the law of the sea, the jurisdiction of the sea, which is maritime law. So everything has a dollar value to it, okay? Including you, okay? And when you flip it over in a kingdom is basically a king's domain run by a king. So he owns the territory, he owns the people, he owns the animals, he owns the air, he owns the natural resources above, below. He owns the trees, he owns the animals, he owns everything. So a king's glory is to expand. But also, a king desires to have offspring, and that's where you and I come in. So, the religion that you're in, the rules of a system that you're in, your codes, your statutes, your ordinances that you're operating, the idolatry that you may be operating in, which I was before, and have to constantly keep surveying my life and making sure that I'm not idolizing anything but the king himself and create himself. So, in order to expand his, and this is generally what kings and queens in the natural desire to do it, to expand is what? What do they desire to expand? They desire to expand their domain, which is their territory. And they also desire to have offspring. Offspring. So that's what mankind is. Okay, you didn't expect me to say that. I told you you're not going to hear this at work. You're not going to hear this in corporate America at all. If you do it maybe one-on-one with somebody else who may know that, you're not going to hear that anywhere. There's very few places you're not going to hear that for now. Okay. So let's get into this. All right. So you got law, land, air, water, okay, and then you have dominion, okay, dominion to dominate an area. So nobody looking at this, no matter what your motive is, good, bad, indifferent, ugly, evil, it doesn't matter. Have a vision, okay, an actual vision that the Creator gave you for to serve your fellow man in a good way, okay? And as a result of that, adding value to yourself and taking that gift, okay, that vision and that gift and mastering that gift and serving it to your fellow man, obviously, resources will flock to you. Okay, that's an actual law, a principle. Okay, so I just gave you a key. A key gives you access, control, authority, power. A key is vital. Okay, if somebody gives you a key to their place or their vehicle, their automobile, or key to anything, that's what they're giving you. Okay, they're entrusting you. So it's kind of like they have a trust and they're a beneficiary, and let's say you're a trustee. So they are doing that, right? They're giving you a key to their automobile and they're entrusting you to use that responsibly and with accountability. Okay. Now, so dominion, and the last thing is a colony. Okay. That's Earth. Earth is a colony of what? Of what's the headquarters? An invisible planet called the Kingdom of Heaven. Where'd you get that from, Tyreek? It's very simple. I got it from the Bible. Okay. If you've been looking at it in the terms of Christianity, as a religion, that would be wrong. If you don't understand kingdoms, you will never, ever, ever understand the Bible. You will always come to the wrong conclusion majority of the time, okay? Because that is how the king operates. Now, even though there's so many people that are lost, okay, in a negative way as far as spiritually speaking, the Bible calls it spiritual death, right? And they have the nature of, you know, of the negative one, right? The enemy of your soul, right? The evil one, right? Put a D in front of that, that last word, okay? And because of that, right, you cannot stop sinning. Okay, what did I say sin was? So what if you look up the root word of sin, it means to rebel. It means to commit anarchy. It means to commit high treason. You cannot do that in a religion, okay? A religion. Have you ever even looked that word up? Re means again, legion is the name of a D, an MON, okay, that has territory in Evil's kingdom. Okay, I'm doing that because I want this video to be able to go out to you because, you know, you got AGI, and you got AI, okay? But anyway, so hopefully you guys can read between the lines. If not, just go back and listen to it over and over again, all right? So I'm gonna make this, when I hit the punchline, I'm gonna make it real simple, real sweet, real short, and something that you can grasp, okay? Now, so with those three words, those are very key, okay? A colony. So obviously we've been put We have a soul, mind, will, and emotions. We live in the body. Okay, I'm talking about our spirit separate. That's the core of us. So we're three-part beings. So we have jurisdiction on land, air, water. Okay, land, air, water. Now, what was the purpose? This is tied to you. Keep listening to me. No matter what religion that you're in, I'm not in any religion whatsoever. Okay, I'm just giving you all the questions that you don't share with your mate and your helpmate and your wife and your husband, and all the questions you ask yourself that you're scared to ask the people in your synagogue. You're scared to ask people in your mosque. You just all these thoughts. I'm giving you exactly why you exist. Okay, so you don't waste any time like I did. Okay, decades, right, of the truth being hidden. Okay, but here's one of the keys I'll give you. Whatever you desire to know as far as why you're here and the existence of all mankind, obviously including yourself, your family, and everything like that, because nobody's a mistake, then guess what? The creator, the king, and the Lord, right? You know what Lord means? It means owner and ruler. So no man owns and rules this planet, okay? See, they may think they do, and they may think that they own people, slavery of all different kinds, and the most, the highest level of slavery is between the ears. It's mental, right? Spiritual and mental, okay? Or soulish slavery, right? Soul slavery. Okay. Because that's where we make that's where our mind, our will, and our emotions and our decision making is made, our intellect. Okay. So it's very key. So let me read you something real quick. Okay. Oh, well, I'll just go ahead and tell you. So the reason why the king decided, his name is Yahweh, decided to come in the form of the flesh is very simple. It's because his first man, Adam, which we all came through, was locked out. Okay, Adam locked out Yahweh. Okay, the king, whatever, creator, king, Lord, locked him out. Okay, why? Because you have to understand the setup. Okay, the Bible is a law book, a kingdom government law book. Okay, and you'll understand this every time you start learning the concepts, the ideas, the laws of a king, the basic fundamental concepts of a king will help unlock a lot of things. Okay, so when that does unlock a lot of things in your mind, it's going to unlock a lot of things in your life. Are you listening to me? All right. Now, so why did Yahweh come in the form of the flesh, called Yeshua, or some people will call him Christ, come in the form of the flesh of Jesus? Is very simple. Is that, again, I'll say it again, he was locked out. So he cannot violate his word. He gave dominion to mankind, his offspring. Okay. So you moms, dads, let's say you bought an automobile for your son or your daughter, right? The prince and princess, the first son, the first daughter, whatever. And let's say they call themselves falling in love, and you guys know that that guy and that girl that they say they're falling in love with is up to no good, right? Because maybe you've been there and you've done that. Okay. Right? Been there, done that before. You can tell, the signs, the warning signs and everything like that. Okay. And let's say, oh, you know what, Joe or Jane or whatever that little boy or little girl, their name is, and your son or daughter says, I'm in love with such and such, and they say, you know what, I'm going to give this to you, and you say, no, don't do it. Guess what? Because you don't have your name on the title of that vehicle, that automobile of your son or your daughter, you cannot do anything, right? Your hands are tied because their name is on it, okay? And they can give it to whoever they want, good, bad, ugly, evil, or indifferent, okay? So you get what I'm saying with that. So that's what it was for the creator, okay? So since he's locked out, he says, you know what I'm going to do in Genesis 1:26, he basically describes in there, and even in Genesis 1, he describes in the kingdom law book, he describes and he tells Satan, he gives out the sentences for a woman and her committing high treason, and then he gives a sentence out to no he first he gives a sentence out to the snake, right, which Satan inhabited, because remember he grabbed the body of a snake, okay, because you remember, if you're going to have any authority and power in this earth, you have to have a body, okay. When you are evicted out of your body, or for whatever reason, whatever happens, that's called physical death. You have to leave. You have no authority or power anymore, okay. So the sentencing that the judge, the Lord, was handing out was to obviously Satan, okay, and then also woman, man with a womb, a wound man, a woman, okay, that's what a woman is, and obviously she had to bear children, and with all that pain, ladies, okay, and then he gave it out to Adam also too. He's going to be working at the sweat of his brow, and it's almost going to be like him doing 100 hours. It's kind of like working 100 hours a week and getting paid a penny, okay. That was part of a curse, and because of that curse, that affected all mankind, all 120 billion of us, in the past, in the present, and the future, okay. And it's called spiritual death. The best way I can describe spiritual death, absolute death, is that if you're traveling down the road and drive in your automobile, okay, and it's 65, all of a sudden you stop, right, and you put it in reverse, okay, you're going backwards on the highway at 65 miles an hour. Eventually, you're going to crash, or somebody's going to hit you, you're going to hit somebody, right? And that's going to be devastating, okay? So that will be called spiritual death, because that would be the outcome. So we were all affected by spiritual death. Now, why did Yahweh, okay, follow me, or Christ, the Spirit, right, had to come through the body, Jesus, okay, or Yeshua, okay, follow me now, is very simple. As I said before, he cannot violate his word. So all the sickness, all the disease, all the misuse of resources, the stealing, the lying, the cheating, the destroying, the all the things with the babies, the elderly, all the lying, every negative thing, every bad and evil thing you can think of is not his fault. Okay? Because why? Because in Genesis 1:26, he gave us authority and power in this body. Okay? Because we have this body, right? We're in the natural realm. All right. So anyway, so he said, I'm going to come through this young lady who's going to agree with me. Her name was Mary, right? And he agreed to come through the womb, okay? And he was going to sacrifice himself, which he already did. That's what the whole purpose of the cross was, and his blood is to give us and reposition us back to Genesis 1:26. That is an actual mandate. What is a mandate? Go look it up. Okay, that's your positional truth. Okay, I don't care what country that you're in. Shout out to all my cousins over there in Europe, all my cousins over there in Northern, Eastern Asia, and Alkebulan, which is Africa, South America, the Caribbean. I got cousins all over the world. Shout out to them and my brothers. But anyway, so that was the whole purpose. Okay, so to reposition us, right? And only he could do it. Okay, so since he had to pay the price for us, okay, and he made sure that he left us the principles, right, to pull down, we use principles, right, to give us keys, which are keys that give us access or laws to operate here in this physical realm, right, with authority, right? Authority means the legal right to make decisions and give commands. Power means the ability to control circumstances and the environment, right? So that's why people are jumping from religion to religion. That's why people feel dejected. That's why people feel, I can't, this bill, why is this happening in this country? Why are we at war with this? Why is this going on? Why I feel pain? All this stuff has to do with the curse, okay, from our forefather Adam, okay, passed down. It's the same reason why you may have your great 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 granddad who did might have did something that actually affected his kids, and they made the same mistake, and they affected their kids, and so on and so forth, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 generations. Okay, it's kind of like somebody poisoning a water supply. Okay, maybe you want to look at your tap water, right? See what's in there, right? 10,000 plus chemicals. I actually knew of a guy who actually worked at a municipality in the city, and I already knew it because I had done research on it, and because of my background in nutrition, I learned that, and he corroborated. He was a witness. He said, "Yeah, we use all those chemicals. Just because it doesn't smell bad always and it looks clear doesn't mean it's still good for you." So that's a whole nother topic in itself. All right, so let's get into this. I'm at the 28th minute mark, so let's go ahead and wrap this up in the next 5 to 7 minutes. All right, you excited? Let's go. All right, so Yeshua, Jesus, okay, Christ or Yahweh in the spirit came in the flesh, right, at the right time, right, under the Romans. Why? Because the model was right. The business model was right, called a kingdom. He couldn't come before, he couldn't come even today, okay, because we're not living under a kingdom, because he calls himself a king, okay. See, you don't want to be up under a democratic republic, because look at the fruit of it. Look at the fruit of the past and look at the fruit that we're going through currently, and especially in the Western world and in the future. Look what it's causing, okay? Because a handful of people, right, can control certain things temporarily, right? Until the Lord and the King and the people cry out, right? And he kind of helps reverse things, right? But we have to give him permission, okay? Permission. You have to give the Lord creating permission, and the only way you can give him permission is very simple, guys. You have to understand the keys, okay? Let me give you a tip. You want to understand the keys? What did I say? Number one, study kingdom concepts, ideas. If you understand, if you study those very basic kingdom concepts, right? What is the operation of the king? What do they do? What's their position? What's the operation? And it's the equivalent in the physical realm with the queen also too. Okay. You know, what's the operation of the herald, the one that says, hey, the king is coming, the king is coming. They're like a prophet. Okay, you get what I'm trying to say? So the simple basic operations, once you get that, now you move on to the next thing as you're learning that, and you say, all right, now what are the laws? What are the keys of the king? The king's word is law, it's eternal law. Okay, so that's what I said: land, air, water. Okay, land, air, water. That affects you. You have a physical body, okay? Your body's made up of 80 to 90% water, right? Remember what I said about your soul, okay? And then you, the spirit man or spirit woman, okay? The spirit part of you, the core part of you, came from the king, okay? The Lord and the creator, right? So you're his offspring, okay? Keep listening to me, no matter what religion you're running through, right? I got all the answers right here, right? That's why I'm confident what I'm doing. Okay. Now, with that being said, so he came under the Roman Empire, okay, because he needed to, when he said the words or the concepts, right, the people understood what he was saying. So they would get the knowledge when they were ready. Okay. That's why he talked about parables. Okay. He didn't tell them directly because they weren't ready, right? Those people, when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you know what they were looking for? Many of them at that time, okay? Some of them changed later on, okay? They were looking for food. They were just looking for miracles so they can get back and run into the world. Well, hey, I keep God over here, the Lord over here, the King over here, in my, like a genie, I rub him when I need him. But when I don't need him, I keep him, I'm going about my business. I'm going to do what I want to do, okay? But when they were ready, okay, after listening to that parable, their mind unlocked and they said, I got some pressure, okay? I got some bills to do, this is going on, that's going on, I need some help, okay? So that parable that he said to them unlocked their mind to give them the right key, the right principle, okay? The right principle, for instance, if you've flown before, like the law of what was it? The law of lift, okay, which supersedes the law of gravity. Okay, everybody knows that, right? So mankind got to thinking, hey, how can we get up into the air like those birds? And they developed a contraction, or contraption rather. So they discovered that it's based all on law. Okay, so everything is based on it. All right. Now, in closing and wrapping up, so what does that have to do with us? How do you, if you want to change your thinking, okay, you want to change your life, you have to change your mind. If you want to change your mind, you have to change your thinking. Okay, so if you're happy where you are right now and you know where you're going in life, forget about it. You know, don't even waste your time. Go watch TV, go do something else. Okay, but if you're not happy like myself, okay, I'm never satisfied. I'm always hungry about what I can learn, what keys can I learn, and what I can get better at, right? And that I can get more power. Okay, because everybody likes power, the ability to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, go where you want to go, with whom you want to do it with. It doesn't matter. Okay, that's power. Okay, the ability to control circumstances and environment. All right, so if I haven't, I don't think I said this earlier, but obviously nobody's a mistake. Okay, and so everybody needs to know those 5 questions that I mentioned to you earlier. All right, so with that being said, I'm just going to hit a few key points and want to just kind of add some value to you. That's what I'm going to end up for the next 3 minutes, adding value to you. Okay, I don't need to talk about money. Increase your value, increase your self-image, increase your life. Okay, those things will actually run after you. Okay, so let's read. Let me give you an example. So Genesis 1:26 says, "Let us make mankind in our image and our likeness." So image means spiritual characteristics, and likeness means to function like. Okay. Now, the only way you're going to be able to understand that is that you can't get the good, positive energy and concepts and knowledge and understanding and wisdom from me. And when you read the book and then go back into the world and fill all your mind up with a whole bunch of negative. It's already in there. You're just compounding it, right? Prior to this podcast, okay? Years and years of just putting bad stuff in, okay? Right? What goes in must come out. What goes in must come out. The law of input, the law of output. Everybody knows that. Physically speaking, obviously, you eat, you know, eventually you're going to poop. Very simple. You drink, eventually you're going to pee, okay? You know, that's gold. You peeing gold right there, right? Those are your cells. You should look that up about your urine because that thing is powerful, boy. My gosh, my gosh, my gosh. Anyway, my gosh, how far have we fallen from our original position, our original understanding of who we are as kings and lords? Sometimes I think about it, and sometimes I ache in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit, and I groan in my spirit. Okay. And so the whole world is groaning because mankind doesn't know who he is. When I say he, I'm talking about her too. Okay, because her, woman, came out of man. Okay, woman. The last 3 letters in womb, man, a man with a womb, is man. Okay, so when you hear me say mankind or man, I'm talking about the female also too. All right. Now, I'm going to read you something. Let's see. So Caesar issued coins. Follow me now. Caesar issued coins stamped with his image and inscription. Okay, this is under the Roman kingdom. That's why the king, the Lord and Creator came in the body. People understood that whatever bore Caesar's image belonged to Caesar. He had every right to claim it. Okay, this is in the physical realm. Okay. Likewise, they that understand whatever bore God's image, spiritual characteristics, that's you, that's me. Okay, and stamp of ownership belonged to God and was his for the claiming. Okay, so guess what? You are creating an image of the Creator. Okay, that's why you're searching, and that's why you're in those different religions and rules and trying to appease and please your deity, right? So good things could come your way. Why? Because you need power. Okay, I'm showing you how to get the power back. All right, now that has to do with dominion. Okay, dominion, to dominate. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you how to redominate, right? Even if that's a word, I don't know. If not, you heard it first here. Redominate, okay? So people said, that's not a word. Well, how do you think the words that we have today, where you think they came from, okay? Some of those words people made them up, but to redominate, at least I'm saying and making up words that actually try to give you a picture to get your power back, right? See, I need you, other people in your family need you, your friends need you, your community needs you. We all need you to know those 5 important questions, okay? So you can serve your fellow man in your area of gifting. So you can be a leader, okay, and walk in authority and power, okay, while you're here, okay? Remember, we're on the clock, just like I'm watching right here. The clock is ticking. So the sooner you find out these 5 gifts, okay, hopefully you haven't given up, no matter how young you are, 70, 80, 90, 100, 16, 25, whatever, 30, 40, 50. Okay. So you are a king, you are a lord, but not over people. He distinctly said that in Genesis 1:26, specifically. Okay. And those who violate that and enslave people, the judgment is already in the law, in the principle. Okay, when you violate any law, the judgment is already in there. Some judgments happen quickly, some take some time, right? It involves long suffering. So, long suffering. Listen to what I just said, long suffering. It may take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. But each time the cup is being filled up with wrath, okay? So if you're doing that and you're doing that in a negative way and you're violating his eternal law, then listen, if you know people doing that and they don't want to repent, change their thinking, get away from them, okay? Because if not, and you've been running with them, you will be judged also too, okay? So it's funny how people say, well, I don't believe in this, I don't believe in the Lord, I don't believe in this. And when people get scared or things happen to people and families and they get to a certain point and all of a sudden they yelling out Jesus, or they get scared and they go, oh, Jesus, or they bang their toe, oh, Jesus, oh, no, I don't believe, But anyway, and all of a sudden, when they come to the end of their life, which they don't know what's going to happen and how people change their tunes. Not everybody, but I want you guys to walk the road of righteousness. Okay, it's a narrow pathway. All right, he's not going to tell you to do that if he didn't equip you. All right, so it means you can do that. All right, remember, you have the authority, you have the power because you're in this body. You're listening to this podcast. Okay. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are the Gospels. That's where I would start with. Read chapter 1 and 2 and 3 in Genesis also, too, NIV version. That's what I would read, okay? All right, so I wanted to read you guys that. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and let me see. Okay, let's go ahead and do this and I'm done. So I'm going to read you this because you're going to need the right kind of knowledge. All right. So knowledge means what? Information, which gives you light. So it keeps you from being ignorant. Ignorance means darkness. Okay. Anytime you come across that in the Bible. All right. Knowledge lies at the heart of the struggle between 2 kingdoms. Okay. So the war is not against your next door neighbor. It's not against your wife, your husband, or should I say your mate, your helpmate, your son, your daughter. It's not against your neighbor. It's not against the city council member. It's not against the law enforcement. It's not against the president. It's not against anybody. They're just being used. And most of them don't even know that they're being used. Okay. The unseen is more real than the seen realm. All right. So the struggle is between 2 kingdoms. Okay. The kingdom of darkness, which is run by Say, right? And then Tan. And the kingdom of light is run by the Lord. Okay, he's the word, and the word is a concept, and he came to bring knowledge of why you exist. You're the kingdom of heaven, okay, on this colony called earth in the natural realm. All right, now because knowledge is where the adversary mounted his original attack on mankind, Satan's most powerful weapon is ignorance. Didn't I tell you that? But to use it, he must first destroy or distort true knowledge. That is exactly what he did with Adam and woman in the Garden of Eden. Okay, it's not an actual Garden of Eden. He's talking about the atmosphere where they were. Could you imagine walking with the creator of the universe that created you and all the complexities of you, spirit, soul, and body, and everything you can see and can't see? Okay, that's amazing. Think on that one. He deceived, talking about Satan, and overcame them by attacking the source of substance of their knowledge. The worst weapon you can use against somebody is doubt. Okay, doubt and fear go hand in hand. There's only two laws that the king, the Lord and Creator, Yahweh, gave Adam and woman. Okay, Adam means dark reddish earth. Okay, here's the first two, and I'm done. You are free. Listen to me now. This is Genesis 2, 16, 17 NIV. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden. So there's thousands of trees. Eat from any of them. Freedom. Okay? But okay, here's a condition. But you must not eat from the tree of knowledge, okay, knowledge, light, or information of good and evil. So they had no idea what evil was. For when you eat of it, you will surely die. Okay, there's another one of the knowledge of not the knowledge, the tree of life. Okay, so Adam received knowledge. He knew what the boundaries were. Okay, you give your kids boundaries, they know what the boundaries were. Don't touch that stove. Stay out of my Pepsi. Stop drinking Pepsi and Coke. Ugh. Anyway, look up the ingredients, people. Uh, Let me finish reading that. So, and what was expected of him? Furthermore, he passed his knowledge on to Eve after she appeared on the scene. As long as they obeyed God and respected his boundaries, they would live. Okay, listen to me now. They would live and prosper and enjoy unlimited fellowship with the Creator. Okay, if you're not living in prosperity in every area of your life, guess what's happening? You don't know the laws. Because you don't know the laws, you're living in ignorance and darkness. If you don't know living, if you're ignorant in darkness, then guess what? You're perishing slowly. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your religion. See, people. But here's the biggest confusion. Oh, they're making money. Oh, they're doing this. Oh, they're doing that. You don't know what those people did behind the scenes to get where they got. They could have slept their way to the top, right? They could have made a deal with to sell their soul, right? Which many of them did. Who you idolize, who I used to idolize, right? There's many of them, right? And that's why you see a lot of their family members around them pass physically, right? They either had to give themselves up or they had to give somebody else up that's near and dear to them. So, hey, I'm not the only one that observed that. Anyway, Satan the serpent and deceiver. Remember, Satan is a fallen angel formerly known as Lucifer, so he had to have a body in this natural realm, which was the snake. Okay, why do you think the snake slithers? His legs were taken off. That was part of his curse. You ever heard of a gecko? Okay, not Geico, gecko. All right. He did not launch a direct attack on God, but sowed seeds of distrust. That's doubt. That is doubt. Didn't I tell you doubt? Okay. And that behind doubt, or right next to doubt, is a twin called fear. Fear and doubt and fear, they go hand in hand. They're power negative twins. Okay. They're power negative twins. Okay. In Adam and Eve's mind, they led them to doubt and question the truth and veracity of the knowledge of God had given them, and therefore to doubt God Himself. And that's why kids who dad and mom can raise their kids in the right way. Listen to me, I'm out of here. Raise their kids in the right way with the right principles based upon the Bible, which is a kingdom government book, not a law, not a religious book whatsoever. Okay, and that's why kids can eventually be tainted and distorted, because Satan sows doubt through media, movies, commercials, music, social media, all types of media you can think of. Okay, to twist their mind so they look at their dad and their mom, right? Even use weapons. Okay, to twist their mind and look at their mom and dad as they're the enemy. Okay, when mom and dad has already sold in them and it was giving them keys, right? The keys, I have my keys on me, right? Access, authority, power. So what did the kids have? Come on, guys, put in the chat box. They had authority, power, access, control. They already had everything, right? And then that's when they go off and do things that they shouldn't be doing. Okay. And a lot of them get in trouble, and a lot of them, because they do it for so long and there's no protection on them, right? Over and over and over again, the Lord, the mom and dad tries to pray for them and intercede for them, petition for them to the king to cover them with the blood, right? And protect them. And eventually that comes to a certain point where that kid gets older and over and over and they know better. Okay. And the protection comes off the kid, right? And guess what? Satan has access to that kid, okay? To that young man, that young lady, right? Because they know better. They have free will. They have freedom to disobey, okay? So I hope you guys understand. I'm sure you guys are going to understand this. This is a packed podcast, but I know you guys can handle it. Bite it one at a time. That's how you eat an elephant. Okay, one at a time. Some of you may need to nibble, but do yourself a favor. Not me. Do yourself a favor and cut back on the media that's choking and kicking and destroying your dreams. Okay, the dreams, that was the vision that was put inside you. Okay, in your kids' dreams. It's called generational curses. Okay. All right. So you guys have a great rest of your week. And I will see you guys next Thursday at 7 p.m. Kingdom Diplomat out. And again, if this is your first time, go ahead and subscribe. I know I just empowered you. And if you've been following me for the last year, thank you guys so much. I am still in the process of working on my first book. I am jacked, so excited about it because it's going to change billions of people's lives because of the revelation knowledge of the kingdom concepts that I've gotten. I'm so excited about it. This is not about me. This is about you and about your leadership and how you can lead your family into the future. We need you. I need you. Your neighbors need you. Your country needs you, whether you're in Al-Kebulin, Africa, whether you're in the Middle East, whether you're in, which is actually Al-Kebulin, but that's another topic, whether you're in Russia, whether you're in China, whether you're in Iran, whether you're in America, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in South America, wherever country that you're at, whether you're just way out there in the desert and you get a little bit of Wi-Fi and you're watching this podcast, you matter, okay? You matter. All right. So I'm out of here. You guys have a great week and apply. You got the knowledge. Now go ahead and apply it a little at a time. Oh, let me ask this. Don't forget, your future is not ahead of you. It's literally trapped on the inside of you in the form of a seed. Get it in the right environment and watch you grow.